4/16 can be broken down to 2/8, and then finally broken down into 1/4. And that is represented by 4 marks on the scale. 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, 4/16. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 equals 4/16. Both are divisible by 2, so 2/8. Still even numbers, so let's break them down one more time to 1/4 of an inch. So on your tape measure, when you see 4 lines, that's 1/4 of 1 inch. Kind of makes sense, right? There's 16 of them. We've counted 4. So 4 of them would be 1/4 of that 16th. And when I say that it's easy, I'm not trying to minimize us learning this. I'm just trying to make it seem like once we learn to count these, so if you know how to read the measuring tape, you should be good. Absolutely, Arlen. It's exactly the same as a tape measure. All right, and we're going to keep doing this. I know you're probably catching on, but I'm going to continue to do it just for the people that haven't seen this. 3/8 of an inch. 6/16. 3/8. Let's have a look at that one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/16 is what we counted. So 1 line, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6/16. Well, both divisible by 2. So that is 3/8 of an inch. Well, we're kind of getting a pattern here. Because if we go back a couple slides, I think we mentioned that 2 of these marks, 1 and 2/16 equals 1/8. So the second line, the larger line on your scale, is 1/8. That would be 2/8. That would be 3/8. Okay, so we're looking at the 16s for sure, but now we're kind of going around and we're saying, what about the other ones? Okay. And finally, the 1/2 inch. Let's have a look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. 8/16. Both divisible by 2, so that's 4/8. Let's see, there's 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. Oh, I tried to say that quickly. So 2, 4, 6, 8 eighths. That can be broken down, both divisible, both even, can both be divisible by 2, so 2/4. Remember we said that one was 1/4. That's 4 of the 16s. Well, this is 8 of the 16s, so that equals 1/2 of an inch. Okay, hope it's starting to make sense. Hope it's starting to kick in a little bit. If we go to the other side of the scale, we're doing exactly the same thing. The only difference is, the only thing that students have to get a handle on is that now we're dealing with a lot of numbers. Okay, to get 5/8 of an inch, we're counting out 10/16. So let's have a look at that one larger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 16ths. Both divisible by 2. So that measurement is 5/8 of an inch. It's getting a little easier to read. Do you agree? That rather than having to count all of these out, we're kind of seeing now that that is 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. We can kind of forget about counting these now, because hopefully we know that every second line is 1/8 of an inch. Okay. How about 3/4? That would be 12/16. And here I go. I know it's getting a little boring to listen to, but I want to do it. I see the marks that's going to happen on this practice quiz we're going to do in a few minutes. And most of the problem is that the students don't count how many marks. So that's why I'm going through this in detail. I apologize if you find this rather boring. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12/16. Even numbers, both divisible, so 6/8. That makes sense, right? 1/8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/8 marks. Both divisible by 2. So that is representing 3/4 of an inch. Again, that makes sense. There are 16 marks here. We're counting 12. That means there's 3/4 of those marks used, so it's 3/4 of an inch. 7/8 of an inch is 14/16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of them. Both even, both divisible by 2. So that is 7/8 of an inch. Okay. And finally, we have 16/16. We've used them all. So 16/16, 8/8, 4, 4, 2, 2, 1, 1 equals 1 inch. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? In order to read the scale, all you have to do is count these marks. And if you're not comfortable with the eighths and the quarter and the half and the 3/4 concept yet, simply count the number of digits in here. If they're both even, or they don't necessarily both have to be even, if you can divide both by 2, then you do. 1/16, that is 1/16, that's it. When you start moving up though, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9/16 of an inch, and that's your answer. 10/16 or 5/8. 11/16, that's not divisible by 2. 12/16, well, we just saw right back here, the 12/16 would be 3/4 of an inch. Okay. Any questions on the counting part? No? Perfect. Thank you, Paul, for letting me know. Okay. All we need to do now that we understand that each mark is 1/16, and all we have to do is add them up and then make them to the common denominator. Easiest way to learn a scale, put in new floor panels when your room is somehow extremely warped, and even the panels you're putting in. Gosh, you do. Yeah, really. Yeah. All right. Now all we need to do, and this is how easy the scale is, once we've figured out that concept of the 16ths, we just have to add the inches in. Remember, the very first slide, each mark from 0 to 1 equals 1 inch. So if I give you this measurement to have a look at, 0 to 1 is 1 inch plus 1/16, 2/16, 3/16. So your measurement for this scale, your mark for the scale would be 1 3/16 of an inch. Right? You've taken the 1, you've added 3 marks to it, 3/16 of an inch. Notice how it's written. Same down here, 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/16. Or they're both divisible by 2, so 3/8. So the answer is 4 3/8 of an inch for that measurement. Same as your tape measure now. And finally, one more example, 7 5/16. Well, pretty easy to know. If we see the 7 here, then we know it's 7 inches. How many marks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 7 5/16. We're simply adding them together to make this measurement. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, up on Blackboard, and let me get to it. Hopefully you're seeing my screen. Up on Blackboard here, underneath in assignments, architectural scale exercise. Are you seeing it? Do you have to turn the camera on for this? No, you don't need your camera on. No. Just go into the scale exercise and answer the questions that are in there. Okay. So you got 15 minutes to do it. It didn't take that long for the morning class. So open that up and go in and see how you make out with those measurements. Okay. I'll wait for you to get done.
शोन इज करेक्ट। मेरे ख्याल से करेक्ट तो नहीं है ये। 7/16 का दे रखा है इसमें। 7/16। ये ठीक है, 11/16 का। यस एंड नो। 7/16 ये दिया हुआ है, 1 इंच से ऊपर जा रही है ये लाइन। 1 इंच से ऊपर। एक दो तीन चार पाँच छः सात आठ। हेलो। हाँ मैं इसी में हूँ। इसका आंसर आंसर पता है तेरे को भाई? फर्स्ट का। नहीं नहीं, मेरे क्वेश्चन थोड़े अलग है ना। इसमें लिखा हुआ है इज द मेजरमेंट शोन इज करेक्ट 7/16, और ये 1 इंच से ऊपर जा रहा है। कर। नो है मेरे ख्याल से इसका ना, नो है। अगले इसका इसका भी नो है और इसका भी नो है। इसका भी 11 वाले का भी नो है ना। हाँ 11/16। और इसका। अच्छा। पक्का? अच्छा अच्छा, देख के बता रहा है।
We're just waiting for a few more people to finish, and then we will wrap this up in a few minutes. Okay, so just sit tight, just a couple more minutes.
और इसका। यस। ट्रू। इसका आएगा मेरे ख्याल से सेकंड आएगा ना। पूरा बड़ा ए है, और सेकंड आएगा 9, 15, 16। नहीं, ये है पूरा बड़ा। 9 इंच के बाद यही आएगा मेरे। सेकंड आएगा 9, 15। और इधर 10 नंबर। 5/8। ये तो गलत है।
All right. All right. Well, most of you did very, very well. In fact, all of you did very well. There's a couple still doing it, or if perhaps you're finished it, you didn't submit it, then it shows on my screen that you're still doing it. So if you're still doing it, continue on. I'm just going to take 2 minutes here and explain what we have to do for the week. Okay, looking at the results, most of the results are in the conversion. Perfect, Parajit. Thank you. Most of them in the conversion. So instead of counting and then changing 10/16 to 5/8, that's kind of where the issue came. But don't panic about that, because after we get going on these each week, you'll be flying through these, and these will be very easy. So well done, everyone, on that one. I hope you kind of enjoyed that, and that is what we're going to have at the beginning of each class. You'll have one, just a short quiz. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do, let me show you, is there are 2 drawings, and I'm going to show you the drawings before you hop off in here and have a look, that I want you to complete. Okay, I would also like to just show you how you mark off on a scale, because right now I haven't really shown. So these are the 2 drawings that you're going to be working on. Here's number 1. On using your grid paper, a straight edge, and a 16 imperial scale, draw the object in the center of a new page. Add the dimensions. You're not being marked on the dimensions. I just want these down. Okay. I would suggest you start in this bottom left corner. And I suggest that because you're given all of the dimensions to this point, and you're given all the dimensions all the way around to this point. So this one is just joining those 2 lines. Okay. Now you see here, if I zoom in on the bottom, what if you don't have a working printer? You don't need a printer. You can have it open up on your screen, and you can just look at it the way we're looking at it right now, Colton. Okay. This is just a template for you to follow. So no big deal. And you can create this on grid paper. You can, if you printed the grid paper I gave you last week, you can do that. Like the grid paper, the grid lines aren't doing anything. It's just the only reason I wanted grid paper, so you keep it fairly straight. Okay. So you're going to go through this. Let me just quickly switch back and just share something with you, my camera quickly. And I would just like to show you how we are going to draw these marks. And I know it's pretty straightforward, and I think it's very, very easy to follow. You seeing my screen? Hopefully you're seeing my camera. Yeah, okay, perfect. I need 2 minutes of your time. So this is what we're looking at, and this is exactly the same as the scale that I'm using. If you have one of these, by all means use this. Okay. If you don't, that's the scale that you printed out will be absolutely fine. Can we draw it with pen, because the grid paper is really dark? You certainly can. Yeah. You can even draw it on the grid paper and draw over it afterwards if you want to get rid of the grid lines. That's the trouble with doing the PDFs. In class, I usually hand you grid paper. So if I ask you to draw a line that is 2 1/8 of an inch long, okay, it would be from the 0 to the 2 plus 1/16, 2/16, let that catch up. So 2/16, I should know, is 1/8. So that would be your mark right to there. And that would be 2 1/8 of an inch. Okay, let me just get rid of this. And if I ask you to do something that is 3/4 of an inch, you would start at the 0. Well, 3/4, if I remember and I start counting, hopefully you can recognize that in between that, the 1 and the 0, that's the center mark. So that happens to be 1/2 of an inch. Well, if we go in the center of those 2 now, so from here to here, that is 3/4 of an inch. And again, you'll get this. This will come to you just by looking at it. I'm kind of off a little bit there. I don't have my glasses on, and I'm kind of on an angle here, but that is 3/4. That's halfway between this mark, the 1.5 in the middle, 3/4. So that would be the distance. If I asked you to draw a line 3/4, if not, go through the process that we did it earlier. Let me get rid of this. Where I start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's ½ inch. 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12/16. That would be what? 6/8. Am I going right here? And then that would be 3/4. So that kind of makes sense that that mark is 12/16 and 3/4 of an inch. Okay. And so that's what you're going to do with these exercises that you're going to have. You're going to have to put your tape down, and you can do this as well. I've just taken the one that we had to print, and I just ripped it. Doesn't have to be nice and neat, but I just ripped it. And now I have a scale. So if I'm drawing on this piece of paper and I want 2 3/8, 2, 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch. And so that would be the mark. And then I would certainly hope you would put a straight edge on and draw your line between those points so they are nice and straight. Okay. Makes sense? If you do not convert it to lower fractions, it's considered wrong. Yes, it is. Because we don't do our drawings saying that the dimension is 1 12/16 of an inch. That would be expecting the person that's going to cut that piece of wood to count out 16. The person's used to, and you will be soon, we're used to seeing 1/4, ½ inch, and 3/4. So is it wrong? Theoretically, no. Technically, no. Theoretically, yes, it is, because we do convert down to the lowest possible. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Perfect. Is it 1-0? Okay. Let me stop this and let me share my screen again. There we go. So for instance here, we have to do a little bit of thinking. These are going to take you a little bit of time to get done. I would suggest, as I said, start from this bottom corner here, because you have all the numbers. And let me zoom in on that area. Now I have this area. I see that I have to go 3 7/8 of an inch, possibly unrelated, but are those erasable pens helpful for drafting? Yeah, they are actually. You can get them in Staples. They're pretty sweet because I make a lot of mistakes, so it's perfect for me to erase all the stuff that I put down wrong. But drafting, you're supposed to draft with a pencil, but I know what's happening. Yeah, the drugstore, the bookstore does have them. Sorry. I understand if you want to do it in pen to make it stand off your sheet. I get it. Yeah, drugstore. Yeah. 3 7/8 of an inch you have to go over. Okay, so you're going to use your tape or your paper scale and measure over 3 7/8 and put a mark. And then draw the line between here and here. And there's 3 7/8. Now, here's something. It's at a 45 degree. Well, okay, it's 45 degrees because I've asked you to come down now 1/2 of an inch. Without a compass, how will we do degrees? I'll explain that right now, Arlie. I've asked you to come down 1/2 of an inch. And I've also asked you to go over from this 3 7/8. I've asked you to go over 1/2 of an inch. So it makes sense that if I go 1/2 and 1/2 and I draw a line between those 2 points, that's 45 degrees. Does that make sense to everyone? From your high school math, so to speak? Perfect. If we carry on over, I said 3/4 here. 1-0, no? Okay. We have 1/2 inch here. So from this first line you're going to draw here, you're going to place a measurement down, and you would measure and put a little mark here that is 1/2. You're going to use your scale and mark down 1/2 of an inch. Okay. Now, on the end of this line, you just measured that out to be 3 7/8 of an inch. So you've drawn that already. Now, from this point, if you draw over again 1/2 of an inch, the same as over here. 1/2 and 1/2 makes a perfect square, correct? So if we go diagonally between that, that will be 45 degrees. You get it now? Perfect. Good stuff. Good. Okay, and the same thing on this side. Look, I have 3/4 over from that point. Well, you're going 3/4 up. And so again, it's making a square. A diagonal between those two makes it a 45 degree. From that point, you're going over 2 inches and so on. And then you're working your way around this object. Now, this in the center may be a little confusing, but you have all the numbers you're working with. Okay, on the bottom, this mark from this point to this point is 1 inch. But on the top, from that point, from the same point as we started to this one is 3/4. So that's why that line is going to be on an angle. It is 1 3/4 and 1 3/4. So that is parallel to this. This line is parallel to this line. Okay. So that's the one exercise you're going to do. And this is the second exercise you're going to do. Same concept, same idea. It's just a way for you to make these shapes, and you're going to be using your scale to get some pretty accurate measurements. 11/16, inch and 3/8, 1 9/16, and then just draw at a 45 degree. Okay. Make sense? Now, sir, please, I don't have a printer to print out grid paper. What do I do? Okay, I'm gonna try your name. Buy grid paper. You can just do it on plain paper. The only thing about the grid paper was it was making life a little bit easier. That was all. But you don't have to print anything out. Just do it on a plain piece of paper. Just make sure all the lines are nice and square to each other. That's what I'm trying to get with the grid paper. Okay. Now let me go back and share this. And what I would like you to do when you have those completed, and you've got a whole week to get them done, they got to be uploaded before next class. Take a picture of it or scan it. If you have a scanner at home, that's perfect. If you don't, just take a picture with your phone or your buddy's phone and then upload it to Blackboard. Okay, so in Blackboard here in assignments, are you seeing my screen? I think now you are. In the architectural exercise folder. I'm sorry, I went in the wrong one. Course documents, class notes, week 3. This is where you upload it. So you have drafting exercise 1 and drafting exercise 2. So just upload them to there. Click on that. It takes you in and you can browse for local file. All right. You can use A4. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so that's all I have for this week. So the rest of the time, see, in class, you would normally be doing this sitting at the drafting table and we would get it all done. But for this class, we're just getting used to it. And so the class is over for today. You can work in this. I'll be online as long as someone is in here. But you don't have to sit here and do it right now. You're welcome to leave and do it during the week. Where do you find the drawings? It is under this week's drawing course documents, class notes. You're not seeing my screen, are you? There you go. Week 3 imperial scale and drafting exercise 1 and 2. Should we buy a drafting table for home? Oh no, Colton, don't buy a drafting table. We don't do enough of it anymore. When we were in class, it was a different story, but now we're going to be switching to CAD soon. So I have to draw the whole print. Yes, you do. Draw the whole item plus put the dimensions on. I found it doing now. Perfect, darling. All right, so everyone, look, you can get off of here and you can do this either now or you can do it on the weekend. As long as you have it done before next class, you should allow about a half hour for each one of these. So it should be about an hour, hour and a half, possibly 2 hours. That's why I've given you 2 hours class time to draft them up. Okay, so that's all I have for today. So if you are going to leave, be good, be safe, and I'll see you next week. Um, Make sure you start the CMHC readings, okay? All right, everyone, thank you. Be safe and enjoy your week. Bye, everyone. So it's called a pilot friction, Frixion. Okay, ball. It's a ballpoint pen. And you can erase it, which is just fantastic.
The most hellish time of your life. It's home. Wellspring Niagara is the region's only cancer support center for all types, stages, and situations. To make a donation today, visit wellspringniagara.ca. You want yourself and the new guilty pleasure on CTV. We're not. I belong here. The Bravo series, Our Kind of People. Starts tonight at 9, only on CTV. From coast to coast to coast, the newsmakers talk here. This is the Evan Solomon Show. Politicians talk. Dave Lavery does. Politicians make promises. Dave Lavery gets results. He's a founding member of the JTF2, Canada's Special Forces, essentially. And I've known a bunch of the guys in there quite well. These are the best of the best. They are quiet. They are not looking for glory. And they are out there to complete a mission and save lives and get the job done. And if you know a guy named Canadian Dave, you're about to meet him. He has been quietly working in the midst of the collapse of Afghanistan, the 20-year war, the longest war in American history over, people stranded. And you know how people got out? They got out because some people gave a damn and risked their lives, and one of them was David. And he joins us now. He's known as the Canadian Dave. 100 people he got out in the final days. Thank you, sir, for your service. David Lavery, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Evan. This is very humbling.
Well, I've known your story for a while. I've worked behind the scenes to try to get the story out, and it helps get some people out or support the people doing it. A lot of veterans, the Veterans Transition Network and others who are doing incredible work to do it. But you were on the ground, and I want Canadians to know your story. And so before we get to Kabul, I just want people to know your service to the country. How long were you in serving in not only in the Canadian Armed Forces, but in JTF2?
It's surprising even JTF2 is brought up. I'm not even mentioning anything on that. I'm proud to say that I did belong to the unit, but
Bruce Peninsula, some of these rivers are going to be running very high right into next weekend.
All right, finally, Anthony, this is also bringing about a change in the temperature. Those lovely summer temperatures we've all been enjoying for the past week or so, they're gone?
They are gone. It's almost as though right on cue with the start of fall officially tomorrow afternoon, we are going to feel like fall. So high temperatures in the teens instead of the 20s. You can say goodbye, at least in the short term, for these crisp, clear blue days that we had this past weekend. We were so lucky to get a couple of those. And there's some humidity that's still around today. That's going to disappear also behind this system. So a taste of fall, at least for a week. I know I've been on your airwaves talking and touting the fact that it's going to be a warm fall overall. I still believe that, but we have a 7 to 10 day stretch of more typical cool conditions for this time of year.
All right, Anthony, appreciate the update as always, and we will look for you tonight at 5:30.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
You bet. Global Chief Meteorologist Anthony Fennell with us. Okay, it's been over a year since we last heard Jeff Probst utter that iconic phrase, "The tribe has spoken." But now Survivor fans can rejoice as the hit series is back for its 41st season. And Chantel Smith is one of 2 Canadian castaways who will be competing for the big prize and the title of sole survivor. And myself and Carolyn, we recently had the chance to connect with her on the morning show on Global Television. And we started by asking her, what was it? We've all watched Survivor, we're all fans, but what was it that made her say, yeah, I can do that?
I guess my life. Yeah, like I just lived through.
asking me questions. You out in front of my house at 4 a.m. Talking about how's it going? It's not going good. Y'all here trying to take money out to make money off of it. That's how it's going. It's 4 a.m. It's 4 a.m. and you ask me how it's going. You know, I don't want you to say nothing to me. You hear what I'm saying? Respect that. Relax. What you mean? What you mean relax?